Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are, and whenever you have the opportunity to join me. I'm Dr. Jan, and this is Russell Institute of Learning Sidebar Education. Well, it's time to get back to talk about Russell Institute of Learning. I've expressed to you that Russell Institute of Learning is powered by WARE Concept, Working at Renewing Education. More and more every day, I just keep seeing and meeting people and hearing stories about how our education process is not meeting the needs of our children or our families, and that breaks my heart. And yet there are some pieces of it that make me realize, oh my goodness, what did we not see? And it just keeps taking me back to my research. So I will make sure that I include in the description a link to, it is Antioch University, a dissertation, a link where you can then download it if you would like to have more information. Letting you know that Russell Institute of Learning, the foundation and the base is there. I am working on expanding and getting it to be more functional and active outside of just my day job and my small group of people that I'm interacting with and taking care of. What is so exciting is that there are aunts, uncles, cousins that without us knowing it really, but God knew that we are all in education. So the base of the Russell Institute of Learning is not only me, but there's a team between my parents, aunts, uncles. So again, as God is giving the expansion, as the need for an improved education system that meets our children where they are, we're going to be ready to go. We're trusting and believing God's opening doors as we need. However, every time I listen to the news, which is not a lot, I get a little uncomfortable because my dissertation was characteristics of progressive U.S. middle schools. And progressive is not always seen as something that's positive. So my concern is, oh my goodness, let's go back and at least look in my research of what I uncovered about progressive. So that again, I mentioned in, I think it was here we talked about fact versus opinion, and that over time, information can change. And so we need to really research. We need to depend on our look up the information and not let somebody else just tell us, not that they aren't truthful, but maybe there's more information out there that we are unaware of that would slightly flip the understanding. So I'm just going to read at least the first paragraph or so to get our whetted appetite, because this whole section is really important to me, that as we begin to look at what is education, and mine, as I told you, is I am a pedagogical progressive versus an administrative progressive. Here we go. U.S. educational reform dates back to the late 1800s. And that's why I say, my goodness, everything we see, nothing is new, as Ecclesiastes, nothing new under the sun. We just sort of change the name. And in my opinion, when we change the name but don't really change anything, it's insanity, expecting different results. So let's just read. U.S. educational reforms. It dates back to the 1800s with the transition from the one-room community authorized schoolhouse, which was agrarian, farming communities. And so we have to look at where are we in our current life. We really aren't a industrial. We're going to see it went from agriculture to industry. Now we are technology. And so we've got to look at, does there need to be something that critically changes in the formation of the school system, whether it's top down, bottom up, side, flat, whatever, that is going to meet the education? So it was changing where it was authorized schoolhouse to the introduction of bureaucratic, compulsory, efficiently run businesses of education. Educational frameworks addressing the increased industrialization of society and greater dependence on scientific theory were considered progressive. Therein lies the difficulty of identifying modern progressive education. The evolution of the American K-12 education system used the word progressive for each new or renewed reform. Progressive education is most often identified with the progressive era of the early 1900s, when much emphasis was directed at social, political, and moral concerns intensified by the transition within society from agrarian to industrial and homogeneous to heterogeneous. Education was one avenue recommended to address and reduce the issues of increased poverty, poor health, and a rise in crime. 200 years later, what are we dealing with? Increased poverty, poor health, and a rise in crime. So that's where we're going to leave it. And then when we come back tomorrow, we're going to start with the internal strain between administrative and pedagogical progressive education. Please like, follow, comment, and share. This is Russell Institute of Learning, Sidebar Education. I'm Dr. Jan, and I'm wanting us to get a conversation going. I want to inspire those who want to make a change in education, and we start right there in our own classroom with our own children, in our own community, and we begin to stand up, speak up, be involved, and that is how we change and implement and structure education of the future. Thanks for joining me. I'll see you tomorrow.